Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Monday, so happy Monday to you. You're gonna have a fantastic week. You know what didn't have a fantastic week or previous weekend? Russian military air base or airfield in Yeisk. Yeisk sounds like yeet. But Ukraine launched yesterday 120 attack drones over the Russian border and they attacked two different targets. One of the targets we're gonna analyze, the hit is not so perfect, but Yeisk airfield, that's a juicy hit. This is occupied Mariupol, this is the Azov Sea. Yeisk is just on the other side of the water, a port city of course, and it has a military airfield, and it was known that Russians held 60 Kinzal missiles there. It was 10 groupings of 6 Kinzal missiles, so 60 Kinzal missiles. One missile, Kinzal, costs about 10 million USD because it is the biggest, baddest and the newest Russian supersonic missile, which supposedly cannot be shot down, but we know that's bogus. Well, we don't know if all 60 of them were destroyed, but if they were, that's a loss, monetary loss of 600 million. Very nice. The airfield in Yeisk was engulfed in fire after the attack of the Olomouc drone, according to media reports. Dagger missiles could be stored on the territory of the airfield. The following objects were also attacked today. Volgograd, where drones flew in the vicinity of the nuclear power plant. Local residents heard the rumble. Primorsko-Akhtarsk, from where the Russian troops launched Shahed drones. The area of the airfield Baltimore in the Voronezh region where the attack by UAVs took place. So it was definitely not a quiet weekend for the Russian military air bases and ammunition depots. Very much exploding happened yesterday. 4 Ukrainian cabinet ministers submit resignations ahead of expected government shakeup. It is a very big deal because among the ministers is Dmytro Kuleba, a Ukrainian long-serving foreign minister that has served the whole duration of the full-scale war. Let's look at this news coverage and bias distribution through Ground News, the #1 news comparison site in the world. Let's begin with the bias distribution. 37% of the sources lean left, 27% lean right. 36% are center. The most important thing in my eyes is factuality. 63% of the sources are high factuality. Anything below high factuality in my eyes is not worth reading. And finally, the ownership chart, which outlines beautifully who are the owners of the news sites covering this news. This shows something about their bias or about their hidden agenda. If we scroll down on the list of news sites covering this, we find Rehi Novosti, which is Russian affiliated. Immediately Ground News tells us that this is a government of Russia, low factuality and leaning right. So in my eyes it is not worth reading. But we scroll up a little bit, we see VOA News, which is government of United States, global media, high factuality and center. Now this I would read. Also on my Ground News homepage I can click the For You tab and this takes me to my favorite news topics which I want to follow. I can tick Ukraine war and Ukrainian topics, apply changes. I will see only these topics, articles, keeping everything else away from me. Compare news coverage, spot media bias. Avoid algorithms. Try Ground News today and get 40% off your subscription by going to ground.news/Artur. Ground News has been a trusted sponsor of this channel for over a year and every time they sponsor my videos, I'm very happy about it. Thank you Ground News for sponsoring today's video. Link is in the description below. But as I mentioned, my friends, Yeisk airfield was not the only target. There was one more, and in this case it's an ammunition depot in the Volgograd Oblast, Volgograd region, which is about 600 kilometers from Ukraine, and here you can see it on the map. Now with this one it's a little bit different. Looking at the satellite photos, it doesn't seem like Ukraine was able to hit this time because Russian air defense forces actually managed to shoot the drones down. What do you know? This is a first. An ammunition arsenal where ballistic missiles from Iran were stored was attacked in Russia. in the village of Kotluban, Volgograd region of the Russian Federation. On the night of Sunday, September 29th, an ammunition depot of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation was attacked. Explosions rang out in the area of military towns, other military and energy facilities in the Krasnodar territory, Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, Rostov, Voronezh and Volgograd regions. As you can hear, there's many names here, meaning these 120 drones were diversified out to many targets. And in one specific military ammunition depot, this one, let's look at the satellite photos of what's the outcome of it. It's not a direct hit, unfortunately, this time. You can see this was the ammunition depot. Right here, beautiful, juicy steak of a target waiting to be spontaneously combust. But Ukrainian drones were shot down and fell to the fields right before, as we can tell from the fires right here. As of now, it doesn't seem like the fire spread to the ammunition depot. Also on the satellite image, we can see even more in more detail, according to the scorch marks of the falling debris, where the drones fell into the fields. One field is burned right here. This here is the ammunition depot, and boom, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, and even 5 here. 5 fallen drones that made fires, but unfortunately none of them fell on the depot itself. So this is that one time where we can actually believe that they shot down all the drones. I never would have guessed that they would arrive. Now, my friends, I want to bring you a very near future analysis of what will be going on between Ukraine, United States and Russia. It's a very short summary, but it gives us a great outline. Where we are now and what we can expect in the coming months within the context of Russian war in Ukraine. Ukraine and the world continue to await tensely for the results of the United States elections. In the meantime, Ukraine and Russia continue active diplomatic action to consolidate support for their allies. Russia's primary focus is discrediting Ukraine in the West, dividing our allies, and interfering in the United States elections to divide Americans and increase instability. During the visit to the United States, President Zelensky met with President Biden and had a meeting with presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. That is one of the biggest things I noticed during this week, and Trump and Zelensky met. Trump wanted to meet Zelensky, then he didn't want to meet Zelensky, and then finally he met him. And we have photos of how they met. We're going to look at them later. They really resemble to me a little bit these Putin meetings when he has this massive table and keeps people away from him. Analyze it later. Ukraine continues to destroy Russian military depots and military logistics. Ukraine produces its own drones and other weapons. Russia increases its weapons and drones production as much as it can, despite sanctions. It uses weapons supplied by Russian allies, Iran and North Korea. There are reports the production of Russian Shahed drones has exceeded Russian original plans. Now, North Korea, right, we might think, okay, Iran and North Korea, the axes of evil, but we have to think that Iran could not survive at the level they are right now with their production without Russian money that is flowing in. And North Korea, that's a fact that everybody knows. If you look at how countries operate, they need money to just pay the wages, feed the population. North Korea gets all of that from China. It exists because of China. If China would stop supporting North Korea, they would not exist. So if North Korea is sending deathly military aid to Russia, it is all because of China. They allow it, they enable it. North Korea could do nothing without China. It's just not possible. They would just simply starve. They don't produce enough food for their population. They don't starve because China makes up for that deficit. So let's zoom out a bit and look what this war is. It is Russia fighting Ukraine. But it is actually China, North Korea and Iran actively fighting United States, the European Union and NATO. That is how I believe this war is actually happening right now. It looks like it. Russia is intensifying its strikes on Ukrainian cities, deliberately targeting apartment blocks, hospitals and nursing homes. Yeah, I was in July. I was on my honeymoon in Kyiv and in Ukraine in general with my wife, newly wedded wife, when the Okhmati Children's Hospital was attacked with 2 missiles. Many of the convoy people actually went to the place when the second missile arrived. They helped lift off the stones from the bodies. And that really scared my wife, actually. I mean, being in the same city where the Russian missile hits a children's hospital. That was almost 3 months ago now. So they have been targeting hospitals for 3 months deliberately, putting the coordinates down and releasing the missile. Its main purpose is to cause as much panic as possible, intimidate Ukrainians and force them to leave their lands and homes. Strikes are unfortunately likely to continue, especially for the Sumy and Kharkiv. Zaporizhia is now within the range of Russian KAB bombs, so it is likely to be under constant strikes as well. Yes, the FAB bombs, Russia is able to ramp up their production. They're quite, let's call it, they're dumb. They're easy to make. Russia makes up with the size what it lacks in smartness. They just add more explosives, making them bigger. So even if they miss by 10 or by 50 meters, the kaboom is so big, it makes up for it. Despite the lack of cannon fodder, Putin doesn't dare yet to announce open mobilization in Russia and increases hidden mobilization instead. Increases payments for signing army contracts and recruits soldiers from other countries, including countries of Africa. Russia is increasing its presence there at an alarming rate, which is very dangerous for this region. Now, why Africa is important for Russia? Well, money. It is very direct money. Yes, Russia has oil, Russia has gas and diamonds in Russia, and they make money from that, but this war is damn expensive. It is very, very expensive. And believe it or not, it is not enough. Russia is taking money from its war chest, which is like 300 billion when they started now. It's almost below 200. It's going down. They're losing money very, very fast, burning money. They need more. And in Africa, Wagner troops and Russian Federation, whatever you call them, they take over diamond mines, they take over gold mines, they make deals with dictators so that if they back the dictators with their forces, helping them to stay in power, the dictator sends like 25% of all the gold to Russia, or diamonds, or whatever they have there. They have a lot of stuff there. So Russia is making billions from their African campaign, making big bank. In the coming month, the Russians will probably try to solve the Kursk issue at any cost. The deadline is likely to be set before the United States elections at most, but a desirable timeline for them is before the BRICS summit in Gaza, to demonstrate to the BRICS guests that Russia is in control of the situation and is a serious partner. Now the Kursk invasion, right. Ukrainians are advancing very slowly or not at all. It's a stalemate there. Ukrainians have deployed about 15,000 troops in Kursk and their equipment. Russia has been forced to deploy about 60,000 and plus to match that and try to push it out. So, if Ukrainian goal was to take 60,000 Russian troops away from Ukraine and make them pinned down in Russian-owned territory, then it has worked. Otherwise, the situation when a part of Russian territory is under Ukrainian control is rather humiliating for Russia. During August and September, Russians have accumulated forces, have reformed, and will now try to counterattack Ukrainian troops. How the situation in Kursk will develop depends on many factors and on the decisions of the AFU leaders will make. One of the key elements of these upcoming months are the elections in Moldova and Georgia at the end of October, where the influence of Russian and pro-Russian forces is enormous. I think this pretty much sums up what is the biggest event to look forward to, which is of course the United States elections, and in the shadow of that, the elections in Georgia and Moldova. Elections in Georgia, we already know who is going to win. It's the Georgian Dream, a very, very pro-Russian party, and in Moldova, presumably a pro-Russian forces also win. Now in Austria, pro-Russian forces already won the elections yesterday. A very, very big hit and blow to the European Union democratic forces. Now they are a beacon of Russian influence in Europe, in the middle of Europe. And if people are watching from Austria, please do comment what you think about this, because from me, watching from Estonia, it just seems that Russia gained a massive victory in Austria. I want to bring you a little laughter to this Monday, mushroom season in Europe and mushroom season in Russia. It is indeed the mushroom season in Russia, because the two big targets attacked yesterday. Last week and week before that, we have massive explosions in Russia. Looking forward to more mushrooms in Russia. These new recruitment advertisements just appeared on the benches in Moscow. Putin is really trying to get people to join the army with money. Just with money, I mean, money he gets from the war chest and money he gets from Africa, just extortion, billions from the people of those countries, like Burkina Faso, for example. Well, there's a peculiarity here. I mean, yeah, they join the army, you will get a lot of payment, a lot of rubles, 5 million or something like that, but the benches look like coffins, don't they? They look like concrete coffins. So I think these advertisements are in their proper place. On the coffins on the street. My friends, one day ago, their photos appeared of the head of the SPU and GUR, Budanov, you know, the Grand Master. And look, he's smiling here. Appearing on the front lines. What is he doing in full battle gear with a weapon, everything on the front, and so happy? Just look at that happy face. That is not it. I mean, if you think he's not taking part of the incursions, well, this video appeared where it seems to be Budanov, who is just having fun, taking part in incursions with his men. Who does that as a leader of the Ukrainian intelligence, military intelligence? Well, I for once think he has balls of steel. He's so awesome. Enough about your horrific past. Let's talk about your horrific future. There are different areas according to drone concentrations, but over Kharkiv Oblast of Ukraine, Ukrainian FPV concentrations are higher, which means they have almost completely been able to push out the Russian recon drones. Now, recon drones are very dangerous over the Kharkiv skies, because Kharkiv is so close to the Russian border that Russia is able to hit the city with, yes, S-300 anti-air missiles, hitting a ground target with those, and almost everything except for short-range artillery. So recon drones make sure they know what they hit, if they missed, yada yada. They choose targets according to those. Taking out those recon drones, very vital. Ukraine has been doing that with their FPV drones, costing $200, $500, maybe $1,000, while those recon drones, fixed-wing recon drones, are very expensive. We're talking about 10K plus, maybe 50K. There is also 100K recon drones in the Russian military. So, according to Ukrainians present in Kharkiv, they have been able to push out Russian recon from the skies using their cheap FPVs. That's good news. As you can see, my friends, Lenin statues, Lenin symbolics and Soviet Union symbolics is still being removed from Ukraine from different areas. Now, this is something the Baltics did immediately. Almost immediately, everything was removed, and some things remained and they were removed after the full-scale invasion. Poland did it, but Ukraine did not. Up until 2022, actually 2014 after that, some of them were removed, but in 2022 after that, majority, almost all of them are being removed. It is a part of culture that basically destroyed Ukrainian population in the 30s by Holodomor, which is forced starvation on man-made hunger. 6 million people. This is made by the Soviet Union, by Stalin, and this symbolics praises that. So it is always so bizarre to me to go to see these things in Moldova or Georgia or in Ukraine. I've seen them also, while this very symbolics and people responsible for it killed 6 million Ukrainians. I'm glad they're removing them now, better late than never. My friends, there was rage against the war machine or an anti-war event in the United States. And in this video we can see how it went. I mean, it's always super weird to hear that there are anti-Ukrainian war or, pro-Russian rallies in the United States, but this is how it is. I don't see really many people here. That's the main thing.
if they contemplate the sequel in which they function as Jesus fate before those Jews who continue to reject the Prince of Peace. I
hear stealing of wallets, I hear the word Jews, I hear Jesus. I mean, it's already being very... I'm not going to tell anymore. But by the numbers who attended this, which was like 15 people, I'm glad it didn't catch more attention. I haven't reported on Lukashenko for quite some time because, you know, I haven't felt like it. But now I found a perfect video because Lukashenko, if you didn't know, is a man of many talents. He's like a genius. He knows everything. He does everything. I'll read you the subtitles. Get ready. You have no idea who the guy is. First of all, I'm a historian, a real historian. I didn't want to be a historian. My mother-in-law made me. I wanted to be a journalist. I'm a professional soccer player. I graduated in economics. You're dealing with a Soviet photographer here. I'm a good athlete in many sports. I graduated from the School of Lectures in parallel. Did you play accordion well? Yes, I played the accordion quite well. Hey, Lukashenko, Mr. Potato Head, I play the accordion for 15 years now. I invite you to a duel. Whoever wins has to give up the nuclear weapons. I mean, whoever loses has to give up the nuclear weapons. Oh, sorry, you don't have nuclear weapons, but you have Russian nukes. I was the head of the Zhanye Society for a while. I'm very familiar with camera work. I was the head of the student laboratory at the university. Oh, no. I'm so proud. I've always been a foreign affairs specialist. I'm a border guard. I'm a border guard?
Dmitry, pogranichnik.
When I was young, I was a concert host. What did they call them? Entertainer, yes. We got here a photographer, entertainer, sportsman, border guard, a videographer, historian, journalist. Lukashenko has it all.
Был в молодости ведущим концертов, как это их называли раньше, у нас конферансье. Да.
Mr. Potato Head never ceases to amaze me. Now, my friends, I have to report something that I even feel ashamed to report as a citizen of the European Union. I quote, Hungary would not put up armed resistance if Russia attacked it. Orban's assistant, Orban being the Prime Minister of Hungary. That is a country, a representative of a country, of a free European Union country, democratic country, saying that they would not put up armed resistance if a fascist dictatorship wants to take them over. For me, this is the low of the low. I cannot stand it. We probably wouldn't have done what Zelensky did 2.5 years ago, irresponsibly dragged the whole country into defensive war. So many people died, lands were lost. Hungary is lost, they're gone. If you are from Hungary, what do you think about this? Orban is Prime Minister because he has been elected by Hungarians, majority of Hungarians, for the longest time. How is this possible? Hungary being their own country, a free country where people enjoy freedom of speech, not freedom of press anymore because Orban owns the press now, he changed that, but freedoms connected to European Union. How can the people of Hungary elect a prime minister who would want to give their country to a dictator that takes away these freedoms? How is it possible? I don't understand it. Opposition leaders called on him to resign because these words violate the foundation of the constitution and independence of Hungary. Yes, they do. They do violate it. I don't know, how can this be allowed to happen? Now, my friends, this is the photo of how Trump met Zelensky. It's a huge table, again, very huge table. But I'll read you a quote what Zelensky did, and he remained very professional about it. I presented him with the victory plan. We discussed in detail the situation in Ukraine and the consequences of the war for our people. We discussed many details. We share a common view that the war in Ukraine must be stopped. Putin cannot win. Ukrainians must win. Now, what Trump has recently said is that he has a very good relationship to Zelensky and a very good relationship to Putin. And he has many times said that he will end this war in 24 hours, which is a blatant lie. He has nothing to change this war in 24 hours. It is a pure lie. What he can do is gamble Ukraine what he thinks he can do, but he cannot, because Ukrainian independence, freedom and lands are not for the United States president to give away. Now again, if you are from the US, I want to say I'm very thankful for the support you have given to Ukraine. Without it, Ukraine would be in a much worse situation. But the true fact remains that Ukrainian resolve to fight for their independence and their culture is their decision. It is not up to European Union or the United States. Now the European Union has decided to support. After the United States elections, we will see whoever the new president is, what will be his or her decision. But it is not up to his or her to give away Ukraine to Russia. Look at this, my friends. We got a new angle of the Ukrainian fire drone breathing fire. This is how it actually looks like from up above. It's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. I love them. I love them so much that I actually had to put them on a t-shirt and on a hoodie. You can see it right here. With love from Ukraine and a Baba Yaga dropping some fire. I have the very amazing design right here, and if you like it, go and get it for your grandmother. Does your grandmother have it? No? Well, what are you waiting for? Link is in the description below. Now, my friends, for the first time this week, my favorite, butchering your names, Buy Me a Coffee monthly members, and if you want me to kill your name into oblivion with my Estonian pronunciation, become a monthly member. Nick, Nicole Praida, Reeb Tire, nick@valkenhouse.com, Vilgus Web. Thank you to these 5 people. You are the foundation of my work. I'm able to do it thanks to you. Thank you for your support, and until my next video, which will be on Wednesday, so be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.